Hello, my friends, and welcome to Leaky Weekly, the show where we cover the last week or so in cybercrime news and current events. I'm your host, Nick Ascoli, and this episode is part 2 of our two-part mini-series called Use a Stealer Log, Go to Prison, where we are covering recent arrests and affiliated activities that tie back to people who use Stealer logs often in the world of cybercrime. In the link below, or if you just go to the YouTube channel, you can see part 1. And before we get into these stories, remember, a lot of the claims we discuss are made by threat actors, so be skeptical. We also have the Flare Academy Discord community. You can join the Discord community, talk to Flare, talk to researchers, talk to like-minded cybersecurity community members. The link to that is below. And we also are hosting free Flare Academy trainings throughout the year. So check those out. We do all kinds of cool things and help upskill you in the world of investigations, open source intelligence, and all kinds of fun stuff that's related to the kind of work that we do. You can find those in the link below or on flare.io/training. Before we get into the stories, I want to reintroduce what Stealer logs are. I did a much longer version of this in episode 1, but in case you're just tuning in for episode 2, I'm going to do an even briefer version. Stealer logs are the product of InfoStealer malware. InfoStealer malware infects a device, steals the credentials, the cookies, the files, takes a screenshot, steals a bunch more stuff, zips it up, and sends it back to a bad guy. A bad guy zips up all of the zips he's collected from all the machines that they've infected in the last week or so, and they sell them on the dark web in a variety of places, and then people buy them and use them for cybercrime. A lot of the largest attacks of the last year, all of the Snowflake attacks, a lot of the, really under the hood of a lot of breaches you'd read about in the news. If you control F for leaked credentials, stolen credentials, stealer log, whatever, it's pretty prevalent now in some of the largest breaches of the last couple of years. So they're more relevant now because they're cheap. They make it easy for bad guys to operate, and they are just as valuable as any other method of access. Okay, let's get into today's stories. For our first story, and this is a big one, there has been an arrest made in the PowerSchool hack. Now, I covered this on a previous episode that we'll link below. PowerSchool is a very, very popular student information system company that has 16,000 customers and has the data of over 50 million students in it. Now, PowerSchool for a school is like a central hub for the school administrators to track things about students and about faculty as well. PowerSchool was made aware of a security incident of someone attempting to hack them or successfully hacking them on December 28th of 2024. And they disclosed shortly after in January that information was exfiltrated. Student data was exfiltrated by the cybercriminal. Again, we covered this previously in an episode, so check that episode out for more details. Being a school information system, it contained a lot. In most school districts, it had the names, addresses, birthdays, and emergency contacts of students. And in some school districts, it had social security numbers, medical information, grades, disciplinary records, and other stuff. This is obviously super sensitive data. In January, PowerSchool told its customers that it paid a ransom to a hacker, and that hacker deleted the data on video and sent it to PowerSchool. Now, this, I've also made my personal opinions on the concept, the idea of paying a cyber extortion that is not ransomware before. I think you certainly cannot trust that the data has actually been deleted. But after this deletion of data and the paying of the extortion fee, members of a school administration in North Carolina started receiving threatening messages saying that they need to be paid or they will disclose the data. Now, this is after the bad guy had already deleted the data. Another reason to lack trust here. That said, there's not really much to suggest this was the same guy. It was probably just someone opportunistic. In fact, they opened the email with, "We are shiny hunters." The name is familiar. It's because many, many attacks have been attributed to shiny hunters. It's a kind of a well-known name in the cyber crime underground. So the big update here is the arrest. Matthew Lane of Worcester County, Massachusetts, is alleged to be the perpetrator of these attacks. He was arrested for hacking PowerSchool and a telecommunications company, who he also extorted, that time with a co-conspirator who lived in Illinois. The document contains messages between Matthew Lane and the victim, talks about the threats, and also shows that PowerSchool was accessed by Matthew using leaked employee credentials as the attack vector. There is nothing suggests this is necessarily Stealer logs, but if Matthew Lane is accessing the kinds of cybercrime communities that are most likely for someone of their persuasion, their age, then it was probably Stealer logs, though there are other ways for credentials to be leaked. Matthew leased a server in Ukraine, which is where he stored the PowerSchool data that he exfiltrated, and made a ransom demand to PowerSchool for 30 Bitcoin. Not sure what was paid. An extortion fee was paid. I think it'll be the amount that he was told to forfeit, so nowhere near 30 Bitcoin. And he's not being charged with the extortion attempts on school employees, again, to suggest this may have been an opportunistic person, totally unrelated to Matthew. He is pleading guilty, however, to the following charges: cyber extortion conspiracy, cyber extortion, unauthorized access to protected computers, and aggravated identity theft. And so some of these stem from the PowerSchool hacks, some of them from the telecommunications extortion. And he is facing 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and has to forfeit $160,981, which I would assume is combined take of the extortion fees paid by his victims. And for our next story, this is a one you've heard about already, but there are updates in the case of the Snowflake hack arrests. So as a quick refresher, in mid-2024, over the course of months, over 160 Snowflake customer cloud environments were compromised using stolen credentials. This was not a breach of Snowflake itself. This was a breach of people using Snowflake. Snowflake is a cloud-based data platform that allows people to store and analyze data sets, search across them, handle big data, basically. And this impacted a lot of companies: finance, healthcare, telecom. I mean, across 160 customers, you're hitting a lot of different industries. A lot of data was exposed in these campaigns, probably the most controversial of which was the 50 billion call records stolen from AT&T that they later paid a $300,000 ransom or extortion payment to have the information deleted, which is another one of those cases where I'm like, can we really trust that the three of the people who've been arrested in association with this, Connor Muka, John Binns, Cameron Waginis, that none of them had other friends they were sharing this kind of data with? I think it's based on, understanding how these groups and people operate. It's pretty unlikely, but it's possible that this was the only copy of the data that is gone. But these people use the data pretty loosely to do various nefarious things they wanted to do. So I never trust that in these cases of extortion and payment that the data they promised to delete is actually deleted. Now, we covered the arrests on a previous episode. Again, there are 3 people involved: Connor Muka of Kitchener, Ontario, John Aaron Binns, who is in Turkey at the time of his arrest, and Cameron Waginis, who recently, this is the update, pleaded guilty to his charges and was arrested on a military base in Texas. So Connor was located by his, at least in unsealed documents, law enforcement claims that his iCloud account was linked to a Discord account, and the iCloud account was linked to crypto wallets, and all of these things put together a network that identified Connor. But the way that Cameron was identified, who went by Kyber Phantom, is almost definitely related to his operational security errors. Kyber Phantom was active in a lot of places, a lot of posts on Discord, on Telegram, on breach forums, on XSS, and other places where they used other aliases. But one of the earlier signs that they were potentially a member of the military was when someone in an argument they were in threatened to DDoS Kyber Phantom. They responded with, "Y'all just hit military-based contracted Wi-Fi." This is a pretty stark revelation, and probably something that most people would have brushed off and was assumed was a joke. But this OPSEC error and many others, like when he posted photos of himself in uniform, photos of his boots, photos of various things that tied back to being in the military and military bases that, and I'm sure a lot of people assumed were not their photos or not real photos, but they in fact were. And he was arrested at Fort Cavazos, I think is the way it's pronounced, in Texas, on an army base there. And that's after the arrest, his identity was revealed. And he was found, law enforcement claims he was found to have been making searches around the time of his arrest, such as where can I defect, which country will not hand me over, U.S. military personnel defecting to Russia, and Embassy of Russia - Washington, D.C. So the update here is that Cameron pleaded guilty. Cameron and Connor and various people involved in this group, which, by the way, these attacks have been named by pretty much to be perpetrated by pretty much everyone under the sun. People have said that this is Shiny Hunters because of some of the extortion notes. People have said that this is Scattered Spider because these are people who come from comm communities. There's a lot of different names that get used, but all of them in this case tie back to the use of Stealer logs to steal data from these Snowflake tenants. So the charges that Cameron has pleaded guilty to include conspiracy to commit wire fraud, extortion in relation to computer fraud, aggravated identity theft, and he will be sentenced on October 6th and face a maximum of 20 years on the conspiracy to commit wire fraud alone, and then more years for various other charges. So in conclusion, use a Stealer log, go to prison. Well, my friends, that concludes our two-part series entitled Use a Stealer Log, Go to Prison. Thank you so much for tuning in. As a reminder, today's show was brought to you by Flare, the cybercrime database that allows you to monitor external threats across the dark and clear web so your security team can mitigate risks faster. The free trial link is in the description. Also, be sure to check out the Flare Academy, our free online cybersecurity training, and join the Flare Academy Discord community to talk with researchers, analysts, Flare, and curious people alike. Both are linked in the description. See you on the next one.